Hi, my name is Tommar and I'm a student with Hope International University. I'm here today to explain to you why more Christians are needed in the law enforcement profession. In this quote taken from the Hollywood film Rush Hour, the character Officer Carter, played by Chris Tucker, expresses how shameful it feels to be known as a police officer. Although these are the exaggerated words of an actor and not those of an actual officer, it does reflect the thoughts and feelings of many law enforcement professionals nationwide. Why, you ask? There are nearly 6,000 reports of police misconduct per year. Of those reports, about 382 are linked to fatalities. Taxpayers spend on average $347,455,000 per year for settlements and judgments related to police misconduct. I've worked in the law enforcement profession for the past 12 years with both the United States Coast Guard and the Kenosha Police Department. I'm the first person to defend my profession against those who believe that it's a dishonest one and that all cops are crooks. I know firsthand that this is not the case. However, I do recognize that the statistics have definitely helped to identify an alarming problem involving corruption and misconduct among the law enforcement community. So what's the solution? It's this. In order to minimize moral and legal corruption within the law enforcement community, more people of standard and moral fitness need to apply for a job in law enforcement. The people I speak of are the people of God, Christians. Law enforcement officers, in order to be effective at their jobs, need to be morally and ethically fit. This is something that law enforcement employers understand, and they do make efforts to recruit these types of individuals through heavy screening processes and psychological evaluations. If you read the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics, you can see the standards that every law enforcement officer must swear to do before they take on the duties and responsibilities of the job. The attempts to hire people with high moral standards unfortunately fall short sometimes, and a few bad apples are able to slip through the cracks. This picture shows the FBI making an arrest in New York City of individuals suspected of smuggling illegal guns into the community. Of the 12 men arrested for the crime, 5 were New York City police officers, and 3 were retired from the same department. As a citizen, how does that make you feel about cops in general? If you're like most U.S. citizens, you don't think very highly of police officers and other law enforcement professionals. In fact, recent polls suggest that only 56% of people rated the law enforcement profession as having high ethical standards. Could you imagine? The very people that are employed to keep us safe, to keep our children safe, are people that we can't even trust. Someone has to do something about this problem. Why not the sons and daughters of the Most High God? The beliefs and core values that a Christian lives by is just what is needed in the law enforcement career field. Let's take a look at the 10 Commandments, for example, found in Exodus 20, verses 3 through 17. Notice how closely related they are to the standards of the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics. Anyone working in a law enforcement career who is striving to keep up with the standards of the 10 Commandments and other standards such as love your neighbor as yourself will undoubtedly be a great asset to any community in which they work. Another scripture that exemplifies why Christian men and women are perfect for the job is found in 1 Corinthians 10:31. It reads, "So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God." Christians recognize that whether they are doctors, lawyers, or professional athletes or homemakers, that God is their boss. This is exactly the type of thinking that we need in the law enforcement community. Men and women who understand that what they do is not just important because it provides stability and financial stability for their families, but that their ultimate goal is to represent their real boss, God, in a positive light. In Romans 13:1 through 5, we can find scriptural evidence that God not only supports the law enforcement career field, but He Himself has ordained it as a ministry. Notice in verse 1 that all authority comes from God, and those in positions of authority have been placed there by God. This authority spoken of is law enforcement, and the fact that God places people into this position solidifies His position as both accepting and ordaining this career field as a ministry. In verse 4, the Bible refers to law enforcement officers as God's servants. This ministry of servitude to God is often filled by individuals who are not even believers. As Christians, we should definitely consider taking back our ministry and serving God by serving others. In closing, the law enforcement community will be greatly benefited by hiring more Christian men and women. This cannot happen unless more believers consider serving God in this manner. The moral and ethical problems that currently exist in the law enforcement community among its officers will be greatly reduced by the hiring of more believers. The core values that a Christian lives by are greatly beneficial attributes that can aid in the transformation of the law enforcement career field. Remember that law enforcement is a ministry that is ordained by God Himself. So if you are or if you know someone who wants to get active in serving God and their community at the same time, I appeal to you to consider the law enforcement career field. Thank you for your time.